Welcome to A Pearl in Every Cowslip's Ear. This series was recorded here in our classroom with actual students. You just get to listen in. We're using curriculum from Christian Light Education, and this is Language Arts 7, Book 1. 7, Lesson 8. Linking verbs, predicate adjectives, and predicate nominatives. Let's first of all do a bit of review. What is a word that shows action or being in a sentence?
Verb.
A verb, good. What is a word that names a person, place, thing, or idea?
Noun.
What do we call words that modify nouns?
Adjective.
What do we call words that modify verbs?
Adverb.
What kind of word tells which, whose, or how many?
Adjective.
Good. What tells how, when, where, to what degree?
Adverb.
Adverb. Good, you guys are pretty quick with this. Okay, what is a word that comes after an action verb and receives the action from the subject?
Direct object.
Direct object. Excellent. And what is the word that would come between the direct object and the verb?
Indirect object.
Indirect object. Perfect. Okay, so today, linking verbs. This is taking it a step further, but let's first of all talk about some linking verbs that we are less familiar with. Here are the main linking verbs: am, is, are, was, were, be, been, being. But some other linking verbs that we have are linking verbs that we call sometimes linking verbs. They're verbs that sometimes link things together, but don't always link things together, such as felt. I felt the chalkboard. I'm feeling it. There it's an action verb. But if we say, the boy felt sad, there it's a linking verb. Notice in the first one, I felt the chalkboard. If we pull out felt and put in was, I was the chalkboard. Doesn't make sense. But in the second one, we can pull out I felt sick. We can pull out the felt and put in was. I was sick. So, if you see a word like look, seem, smell, appear, these could be linking verbs. And a test to find out are they linking verbs is, can you pull them out of the sentence and stick am, is, are, was, were, be, been, being, one of those words in there. If you can, and it works, you've got a linking verb. Okay, linking verbs are important because they link things together in sentences. They link, sometimes a linking verb will link a noun in the predicate back with the subject. We have this in the first sentence, and we call this a predicate nominative. We call it a PN. Can you find the predicate nominative in the first sentence? Solomon was king. What is the predicate nominative? What's the verb, first of all?
Was.
Was. Who or what was?
Solomon.
Solomon. Solomon was who or what?
King.
King. Excellent. He was the king. King, it's a predicate nominative, and it is renaming Solomon. Solomon was king. A king was Solomon. Solomon was king. A king was Solomon. Either way, it's renaming it, showing that, connecting that noun back with Solomon. Now let's check out the second sentence. What is the verb?
Was.
What's the subject?
Solomon. Wise.
Solomon was who or what? Wise. Okay, so wise here is the complement, but it is a predicate adjective. Excellent, because wise is an adjective saying what kind of king Solomon was. So you can remember these two kernel sentences. Solomon was a king for a predicate nominative. Solomon was wise for a predicate adjective. And let's diagram them very quickly. They'll be diagrammed the same way. We'll put Solomon was then. Instead of a direct object line, use a predicate nominative, predicate adjective line that's slanted. Make sure you get it slanted. I don't want to see something that's just almost slanted or almost straight. I want there to be no questions. This line is slanted. Solomon was king. And then A under king. And for this one, Solomon was wise. This line is kind of showing us that this is reflecting back to describe the subject. Here's reflecting back to rename the subject. Yeah, it's a nice slanted line. For a direct object now, you're going to use a straight up and down line. A line like this. Don't use a slanted line for a direct object. Okay, let's look at some predicate adjectives or predicate nominatives in these next sentences, and then we'll diagram them. The pie smelled spicy and sweet. What's the verb?
Smelled.
What's the subject?
Pie.
Pie. What are the...
Spicy, sweet, predicate adjective.
Good. Spicy and sweet are both predicate adjectives. Now, notice that this verb is one of those sometimes linking verbs. But we can tell it's a linking verb because we can pull it out and put in was. The pie was spicy and sweet. That makes sense. And think of it, if it would be an action verb, you would have to have the pie smelling. You're sweet and spicy and the pie is smelling them, seeing how they smell. Okay, the pie smelled spicy and sweet. Let's diagram it. Do the verb first.
Smell.
Smelled here. Pie. And then we're going to have to fork it. And do spicy. Sweet. Put our and put a slanted line in here to show these are predicate adjectives. Under pie, we can put the. The pie smelled spicy and sweet. For this one, you are my best friend. What is the verb?
Are.
Are. Who or what are?
You.
You. You are who or what?
My best friend.
Good. And specifically, what one word is the predicate adjective or predicate nominative?
Friend.
Friend. You nailed it. And is it a predicate adjective or a predicate nominative?
Predicate noun.
Nominative. Excellent. Because it's a noun. Let's diagram it. You are slanted line. Friend. And then under friend would be my and best. You are my best friend. Okay. There you go. Predicate nominatives, predicate adjectives. They follow linking verbs and they rename the subject or they describe the subject. One or the other. Diagram them with a slanted line coming before them. All right, carry on with your work.